Welcome back, Renegades. Hey, you had fun for the last couple of weeks with Glenn and Ray's excellent Facebook weirdness adventure. But hey, this week, special treat. Josh Smith and I, he owns the Get S Done podcast over in the USA. And it was honored that I was on his podcast recently. He's been on mine. He helped me actually lose a whole heap of weight. If you want to check out our sister podcast called Fat Phenom, which was a lot about how I have a weight loss journey. So Josh and I got to spend some great time together, and he really helped me, and I was honored to be able to help him as well. So he's one of the most intense individuals I've ever seen. So when he and I got into the room, sparks were flying. It was like two energetic fireballs colliding. It was a lot of fun to hang out with a compadre, I suppose you'd say. This guy's got great energy. I loved hanging out with him. This is Josh Smith, everyone. You want the normal real estate training you've been told a million times? Make cold calls, knock on doors. Best be switching off now, because in this podcast, we go out of the box using unknown tactics, primarily, that the real estate industry's never heard of, in order to get you called in more often, convert those listings, and get more success without the painful cold calling. Listen up, we're in for a ride. This is Real Estate Renegades.
What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast interview. First off, thank you so much for tuning in, for checking out the show. Your support is massively, massively appreciated. The only reason that this show exists is because of all of your amazing support. So we truly appreciate your support. I truly appreciate your support. Make sure that you're sharing the show with as many people that you feel would benefit from the show. The goal is to always grow this show and go out there and have a big impact. Real quick though, before we jump into today's podcast, I want to plug our sponsors that make all of this possible. Our first sponsor is my personal 90-day mastery bootcamp. This is my real estate agent mentorship training program. It's a group training platform. This way it makes it extremely affordable for you. Inside this program, however, I am unpacking my entire playbook. I'm walking you through step by step everything that I do inside my real estate business, everything that I've done, everything I've learned in my 12 plus year career with selling over 5,000 homes, with selling over $1 billion in real estate. And I walk you through step by step exactly what I've done, how I built what I've built, and what I'm doing today to go out there and create the success. But don't mistake the low cost for low value. This is an insanely in-depth, step-by-step program where I'm walking you through, again, step-by-step on how I go out there. My team sells 1 to 2 homes every single day in today's market, continue to grow my business year after year, and how I've been able to exit from selling, exit from actually day-to-day involvement in my real estate team, and create an epic, amazing real estate team that not only sustains but grows without my involvement. So whatever level that you're at, whether you're a brand new real estate agent, you're an individual high-producing agent that wants to expand and create a team, or if you already have an amazing team, or you're a broker owner that's looking to step up your internal training, looking to step up your systems, your processes, your tracking, make your business more predictable, this program is absolutely for anybody that's serious about leveling up inside their business. So check us out, www.90daymastery.com. Make sure you use promo code LIVEMASTERY, all one word, all together, all caps. That's going to get you the biggest discount on 90daymastery.com. You're going to see tons of testimonials on their video testimonials, what's included in the program, the future dates of the program. I do several of these every single year, so make sure to check us out and make sure to jump inside that program ASAP. My next sponsor that makes this show possible is PerfectStormNow.com. If you're a real estate agent and you are looking for a lead generation machine website backed by an insanely powerful CRM system that allows you to convert your leads to appointments at the highest possible level, manage all your tasks, make sure that you're effective and efficient as you possibly can be inside your business, transaction management component, all of that stuff. It is hands down by far the most effective and affordable real estate website and CRM program that exists out there in the industry. It's what I use to go out there and sell 650 plus homes every single year, and the system is gnarly. If you're signing up for that program, make sure to use promo code MASTERYPSN, all caps, all one word, all together. That'll save you the $200 registration fee and get you a great discount. Our last sponsor is REO University. So I teamed up with a good buddy of mine who is the most knowledgeable dude, hands down, that I've ever met when it comes to REO properties. This guy used to work for the banks directly as an asset manager, and he developed so many of the systems that you see that asset managers and asset management firms and banks use today. This guy sold over 11,000 properties, foreclosure properties, as an asset manager. And he and I teamed up with my experience of working with over 35 banks in my career, selling thousands of REOs, plus his experience. We've created just an insane program. Again, REO University, the website is www.REO Mastery University. It's a one-time payment for $997, or you can split that up into 3 monthly payments. This is not a live boot camp like my 90 Mastery boot camp. This is something that you have access to instantaneously. We walk you through exactly how to go out there and get in with the banks. So how to get the business, but then how to service that business at the highest level, how to go out there and complete BPOs, how to complete cash for keys, how to make sure that you're insane at your valuations, how to go out there and make sure that your asset managers are winning and hitting their goals, key indicators you need to look for, and more. There's 22 in-depth, just amazing, powerful modules that will teach you how to become an REO machine inside your real estate business. Now, if you're like me, I don't want my business to ever be in a vulnerable position, right? I don't care if it's a good market, bad market. It doesn't mean that my business needs to be good or bad. My business can always be great. During a market crash, right? There's no such thing as if the market's going to crash. It's just a matter of when, right? But again, you don't need to put yourself in a vulnerable position. You can make sure that your real estate business is 100% recession proof, and go out there and, of course, generate business, do a ton of business regardless of what's happening in the marketplace. And this is exactly how you go out there and do it. And we walk you through step by step. So check us out, REOMasteryUniversity.com. You can learn more about the program, hopefully register for the program, jump on in. This price will not last long, right? We just created this product, rolled it out several months ago, and just getting in the hands of the consumer, and people are having a lot of amazing success. So again, check us out, REOMasteryUniversity.com. All right, again, you guys, thank you so much for watching this show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to share the show. Make sure to comment. Like us on YouTube. Leave some positive comments. We love hearing back from you guys, and love getting your feedback. Keep kicking ass, and let's jump on into today's interview. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast interview. Every single week, we interview top real estate agents, top entrepreneurs, and straight up top badasses out there dominating their spaces. So people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but to instead to go out there and create big, amazing, epic lives for themselves, their families, as well as have a big impact on others. So today, guys, another amazing, epic, special guest on the show. This is a guy, very successful entrepreneur, was a very successful real estate agent, now a very successful top coach, top trainer in the real estate space, amongst doing a lot of other things. You know, he's got his own epic, insane podcast where he's interviewed Arnold Schwarzenegger, Eric Thomas, Richard Branson, and just some massive, massive names out there. So you guys, really stoked and honored to have Glenn Twiddle on the show. My friend.
Oh, Josh, thanks, man. You know, I was sitting there. I had to reach out. When I saw your podcast, I saw how freaking your energy, man. People say I'm energetic and enthusiastic. Dude, you make me look like I'm on Valium. And so I said, I have to connect with this guy. So I reached out to all my networks to say, get me to meet Josh Smith, man. He's a beast. I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It truly means a lot, dude. Truly means, number one, appreciate wanting to be on the show and getting set up. And yeah, we got connected through Brian BC, who's been on the show a couple of times. How did you and Brian connect originally?
Man, it was through another, we talk about having your network. It was through another couple of mates that I have over there. And I did an event and I invited Greg McDaniel and Matt Johnson to come from RE Uncensored. And they said, you got to meet our friend Brian. And I tell you, when we met Brian at the event, man, he's just the coolest
dude, best energy, best command of the English language I've ever seen almost. Just a real cool bloke. And I really connected with all three of those guys. And we dragged in Josh Altman from $1 Million Listing because I thought, if I'm going to do an event in LA, geez, I'll get my boy Josh Altman to come down and hang. So the four of us did this event. And, man, it was great fun. So after that, I said, BC, we got to do some more stuff. So we had him. I interviewed him. He interviewed me. And I'm just looking for the opportunity to bring a whole heap of my American secret weapons down to Australia, man. So, you're now on my target list to get your butt down here to down under.
Nah, it'd be a massive honor, dude. So I'm 100% in. So, you got so much going on today, and we'll definitely go deep into what you're doing today. But I'm always intrigued in our guest journeys that led them to where they are today. So we rewind the clocks. Like, what led you into real estate and just overall entrepreneurship in the first place?
Yeah, man. Like most of us, we get into real estate because we've got nothing else to do. I mean, it's funny that very few people sit there as a kid and say, you know what I want to be? Although I have met some. That as a kid, they said, all I want to do is be a real estate agent. And I think, wow, that's rare in our business. Most of us get into this business because we've got nothing else to do. So when I had nothing else to do, I was a singer guitar player. So my working life was, and I wasn't a very good one. I was mediocre at best. I was just good enough to get paid. Say $500 to go to a local bar, play K-San, or you wouldn't know K-San, it's an Aussie song, but play Copperhead Road and Aerosmith and Van Halen and classic rock kind of stuff. I'd get paid $500 to play in the bars, So that meant my working week, Monday to Friday, I didn't do anything, So a mate said, you want to try out real estate? And I said, why not? Better than sitting around. So I did. But the way they taught me was cold calls. Just churn out those calls, man. And whilst I did it, and when you in the intro said I was a really successful real estate agent, I was okay. My best year was $380,000, which is by no means a slouch, but it's by no means the $1 million plus performers that potentially, like that many of my clients are. Dozens of my clients are at that 7 or above figure mark. So I was never there. Because the only way I knew and the way I was taught was cold calls. And it literally killed my soul. That, I don't know whether I'm big sookie la, big sook, I don't know if that translates, but, someone who could not handle being a people person on Saturday night, that as a guitarist and a musician and a singer, I was the life of the party. Everyone in that bar loved me. Hundreds of people would buy me drinks, and I was the cool kid, right? And then Monday morning, I'd go into this little hobby called real estate, have to churn out cold calls, and 97 people out of 100 hated me, didn't want to talk to me, hung up on me, called me all sorts of names. And whilst I tolerated that for years and made better money than I'd ever made before, I couldn't do it. Like, I literally couldn't handle, because I took every one of those rejections as a personal rejection. It killed me. So I thought I either need to find a solution to this or I need to get out because it ain't worth the money, So I searched the world to figure out marketing so that how could those 3 people who didn't tell me to piss off, who said maybe or yes, right? Those 3 out of 100, how do I get them to call me rather than me having to kill myself calling the 97 and having them? Because here's the thing, after 97 rejections, even when you call one of those maybes or one of those yeses, my spirit, in theory, now it didn't always work this way, but it could be understandable how when you get to that 98th one that was going to say yes, it's almost like your energy, your demeanor or whatever says, yeah, I know you're going to reject me as well, so get on with it. You know what I mean? So you almost kill the maybe. So anyway, that led to a search, and I had to figure it out, man. And I'd spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'd sit on that frickin' plane from Brisbane to LA, 14 hours, dozens and dozens of times for years. On that plane flight, if any of you guys haven't done it, man, it is a beast. Like, you get on there, you have a drink, you have a meal, you watch a movie, you have a little nap, you watch a movie, you have another drink, you have another meal, and then you're still only frickin' halfway there, and it is a mess. So I paid the price to get the knowledge, and, you see a snapshot of my library here of books, of CDs, of programs or whatever, all with that one goal in mind. How the frickin' hell do I get those people to call me? Because I cannot deal with calling them. And here we are. Work to treat, man. Work to treat. And I still apply that same principles to my business as a speaker and a coach, because once word got out that I'd cracked the code to build a real estate business without prospecting, I kind of got popular pretty quick.
Yep. Love it. Well, and I think that's, there are some real estate agents, and Brian, who we were talking about earlier, happens to be one of them that loves hitting the phones, loves door knocking, and but man, it's such a unique personality type, and maybe it's 1 out of 100 realtors that and I'm with you, man. It's never been my style either, right? I hate working the phones. I hate all that rejection as well. So you go on this journey, you crack the code. Kind of walk us through that path. Like, what were some of those ways that that you started working out, and like, when did you know, and what did that look like at that time? Because I'm sure it's evolved, right? Like, maybe it started off as more direct mail pieces, and now it's probably heavier, social media, whatever that was. But walk us through like what that looked like as you started to crack the code and how it's evolved over that time.
Yeah, all of those things you just said are true, certainly. Although, I read an article the other day, direct mail's back. And I'm sort of sitting there going, hey, man, us marketers, direct mail never went nowhere, So I use all media, and that's one of my principles is multimedia. They need to see it. Well, let's take it back. The first principle that I probably think is one of the most important is most real estate agents don't get inbound calls because the public out there don't give a shit about what we're doing. Like, we wake up every day and we are thinking about our business. We are surrounding ourselves with our business. We're working on our letters, our flyers, our calls, our dialogue. We wake up living and breathing it. But think about this. They're not waking up thinking about us whatsoever. They don't care one bit about what we're doing, about this flyer that, I'm probably the only person that collects flyers because I just collect flyers as an example sometimes of what not to do. So these were in my letterbox yesterday. And these people would have spent literally hours getting the right colors right, getting their CMYK color schemes and their logos to be accurate to perfect corporate branding standards. This guy's, wondering about the die cutting of his invite to come to the thing. And actually, this ain't a bad one. And this is a company notorious for never letting the personal brand of an agent go on their marketing collateral. This is a change for this company, in fact. But anyway, these people spent hours, if not weeks, getting these marketing materials ready to go. And what they don't see is I'm the only one that's looking at them because I'm collecting them as a coach. Everyone else is just taking these and throwing them in the bin. So the biggest principle that I wanted to crack is I was told that, by an American dude, so I owe your country, man, a debt of gratitude. His name's Dan Kennedy. He actually showed me this slide. Let me just whack this up. I didn't know whether we were going to go into code, but this is the principle, right? So you already saw the oh shit, it's okay. I'm going to leave it on this because it put it on my other screen over there. So if this is a generalist, this is every real estate agent you might meet in the business here, right? That's most of us. Right. And a generalist gets paid not well. And if a generalist is away, like, for example, if you go to a general practitioner doctor to get a physical or you got a sniffle or whatever, if that GP is away for a month, you go to the GP in the office next door, the general doctor next door, the one at the CVS who's just, they're interchangeable. The next level up there is the specialist. But what I wanted to get to was the one at the top of that in every industry, you name the industry, in real estate, Josh Altman, the famous version of the real estate agent, gets paid more than his generalist counterpart. In health and fitness, our mutual friend Arnold Schwarzenegger, because you got some clout within the health and fitness industry, Josh. My mate Arnold. And I say that, look at that name drop, man. Look at that name drop. Shit, man. Check that shit out. But Arnold, as a health and fitness professional, gets more money than his personal training counterpart. In medicine, Dr. Phil gets more money than his specialist psychiatrist counterpart, or certainly more money than the general practitioner counterpart. So you name me an industry, there is not an industry where the celebrity version of what it is that industry is does not get more and better remunerated than the generalist or even specialist version of that vocation. So I set out to make me the most famous real estate coach in Australia, and celebritize myself, which I was not. And then I set out in my agent clients. I was like the guinea pig, and then I had clients that I would work with and do exactly the same thing for. For me, my target market and audience that I needed to be famous to was real estate agents. To them, it was geographic in a 3-mile radius around their office. I needed them to be legend, household names, that if they go down to the local shops, that it takes them 2 hours because people keep stopping them and asking them questions about how's the market, what's going on, oh man, and that when they're finally calling them in, they're not getting this, what can you tell me crap. They're like, they've got a different energy. They're like I was with you, dude, and it wasn't fake. It's like, I'm on the podcast with Josh Smith. This dude is an animal. I respect him. I know him. I've watched hours of him online. So I have respect for you as a celebrity podcast host because of your positioning. And so my respect and admiration, I feel like you're really honored to be here. That's how you want your consumers to be with you, that when you meet them, they're not treating you like a salesman with that disdain. They're treating you like a special guest, that they're honored to be actually speaking to you because they know that you're the real estate agent that does all of these things. Like, one of my guys, his name's Chris Gilmore. He's just an awesome example of this principle. He was at a listing presentation just recently, and there was a couple that were in his farm area. So the principal have worked with them. They revered and admired, and he's positioned as the celebrity specialist in their area. Mum and dad of this couple are not in his area and come in while Chris is still there. And they start treating Chris like a normal person treats a real estate agent, putting him through the ringer, giving him shit, not giving him shit, but being as disrespectful and questioning as we would normally be with a salesman trying to close us, right? And the wife of the couple, the young couple, when I say young, mid-30s, says to Mum, shut the hell up. Don't you know who that is? That's Chris Gilmore. He wrote the book on this because he's the author of a book. He was on stage with Richard Branson. So the daughter starts rattling off the credentials of Chris, defending Chris because her mum dared to treat him like a typical salesman. So there's the formula that we set out to crack. How do we actually get admired the way anyone else in this world that gets paid 10 grand for their services? Like, you name me a business that get paid 10 grand for a service that isn't, most of us who charge this sort of money actually get respected. And yet people pay us really well and treat us like shit. Yeah. It's crazy, man. So that's the big formula, man. And when we set out to crack that code, man, that was, so I've talked about the principle. You kind of asked how to do it. Man, yep, lots of ways to do it, but everything you said is right. What we need to do is break down the elements that make Dr. Phil a more revered psychoanalyst than his counterpart, that make Jillian Michaels and Trainer Bob, see, I'm showing some US cred here. We don't have those guys down here. We have different Biggest Loser trainers, that make Trainer Bob and Jillian Michaels far better remunerated than your standard personal trainer. What are the elements? So I mentioned the first one. Become an author, right? The person who has written a book, and there's mine. Look at that cover, brother. Look at that cover, hey? So, and by the way, this is the first copy. I've only just got my book, I mean, I got a lot of other people's freaking books, but the person who's written a book, that is a symbol that says to your marketplace, well, they have a saying. He wrote the book on this shit, So that's one. And there's 5 big elements that make up a celebrity, but that's what we did. We said, what makes Dr. Phil, and make a normal shrink a normal shrink? And how do we recreate those phenomena in any real estate agent that is, that is wanting to take that journey, And then the first one is, write a book on your area of expertise,
Yep. No, love it, dude. There's a saying in marketing, or at least a saying that I've heard. I don't know if you've heard this, but at least when it pertains to real estate that I kind of grew up with as I was building my real estate business. But it's like, okay, you can either be rich or you can be famous. right? And you're talking about being famous, but being rich. And what I mean by that, I think what the saying comes up is a lot of these people are like, hey, we're going to go out there, spend all this money, be on the bus benches, be on the billboards, be in a direct mail piece, but they're not structuring that with the right call to actions and growing it in the correct way. And, like you look at the celebrity, right? And then people see them now today in the name and the face, but man, they don't see the hustle that they had to go through for years to be able to build up that cred. And so as you're doing this simultaneously, let's say a real estate agent's like, all right, man, I want to become that celebrity, but I've also got to create now money, now success, so I can reinvest some of this money, become that celebrity. How do you, when you're getting started, do both simultaneously, right? So you don't go broke and are getting that business now as you're building that brand.
Yeah, I would say that there's a reason that there's only 1 in 100, maybe 1 in 1,000. There's 50,000 real estate agents in Australia, right? There's 50,000. And there might be, I don't know, I don't even know the numbers. I probably know a dozen of them that are at that set, like personal clients and friends that are at the $1 million mark and up. So there might be 100, let's say, that are at the $1 million mark and up. So that's a tiny proportion. So what I would say is, in the early days, there's probably no way to do what you're wanting to do, be rich and be famous. What I would say is those agents who are willing to eat shit and go all in, and when there's a $10,000 check come in for a commission, they're willing to pay rent with $300 of that $10,000 check, eat 2-minute noodles or a little can of tuna with $1.50 of that $10,000 check 3 times a day. So their food bill for the day might be $10. Their rent bill, they might be living with 6 mates, and yeah, they are living frugally so they can put every penny into the building of that personal brand so that they can pull money out later, and so the guys that are willing to go all in temporarily for a few years and just take, I remember there was a lady called Jody Curran. She's a magnificent example. She was up to her eyeballs in credit card debt when she met me, about 30 or 40 grand in credit card debt because of a deadbeat husband who pissed off and left her with all the debt. She had no money, no property, no go. It's funny. We can not broke when I was growing up. It meant no money. You can wave goodbye to zero on the way down. So she was negative money and just screwed. And she couldn't afford even to join my program. And she didn't tell me this at the time. She joined by maxing out a 3rd freaking credit card just to join my program, right? I would have worked for her for free if I'd have known. I didn't know, right? But anyway, years later, it becomes a good story. But when she'd get a check, she would feed the kids as much as they needed. She taped the kids' shoes up with black tape and then spray painted them so the kids wouldn't get teased. And kids, the kids still got frickin' teased. No amount of black spray paint's going to hide that's frickin' tape on your shoes, motherfucker, So the kids went through hell. She went through hell. She's now $1 million performer. Only 2 or 3 years later, it was 2014 that her world changed. It's now 2017, 18. And she's now a 7-figure performer because what she used to do when the check come in, she didn't feed the kids well. She didn't buy the new cars. She didn't do anything but say, right, what marketing piece can I put 9,000 of that $10,000 into? What can I do next? And she just went from flyers to directional pointer signboards and then another check would come in based on that. And she ended up getting pretty early in the piece, far more early than I would normally recommend. She started getting billboards in her area on the main highways, and at the recent event I did with Schwarzenegger, she didn't even ask. And I like that because I could have got in trouble for it, but screw it. I got to admire her tenacity. She put an ad up for my event with Arnold Schwarzenegger's face, her face even bigger, and then Michelle Bridges, who's like our Biggest Loser trainer. She's like our Jillian Michaels here. So she had her, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Michelle Bridges with her almost as the headliner saying Total Success Summit live, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Michelle Bridges, Jody Curran. And she was one of 12 speakers, but in her area, she put a giant billboard for my event in her area, looking as if it was the event that was running that ad. But it was her, man. And the reason she did it was for the celebrity positioning. Can you imagine how pissed off her competitors were when they saw Schwarzenegger and trainer Michelle Bridges and their competitor on the billboard with 50,000 cars a day in her area driving past this thing for 2 months? Man, that's the thing. So really the big answer to your question is, man, I don't think it's possible to be rich and famous early, but I think the way to get rich end game, I mean, look at Gary Vee. You know, I work with Gary Vaynerchuk. We've done a bunch of things together, and I dragged him down to Australia, which was cool. Man, that dude's been going, 20 or 30 years? Since 2009. So 10 years in the personal branding space since he wrote Crush It, right? So he's sort of 8-10 years in. He hasn't pulled a dime out selling books, tapes, courses, and all that. Just everything has been put back in building a legend, because he's got the longest term game of all of us. He doesn't care if he doesn't monetize till 2040 when he buys the frickin' New York Jets, you know? So I don't think you can be rich and famous too early. And but then you know what? I don't think you can be rich early through any methodology. You know, I don't know, maybe you can, but I see the way to rich. I've now got a 7-figure business, and dude, you know, this punching above your weight title, I believe that 100%. I was born with no silver spoon. I grew up in the equivalent of Jersey. There's this place called Ipswich, which is a little socioeconomically challenged town about 50 kilometers outside of a capital city, you know, working class town and all that. So for me to be on multiple 7 figures in income is freaking crazy, right? I have to tell myself, well, I hide myself from the money so that I can just do my thing. Because if I actually focused on, holy shit, dude, you earn $2 million a year, and that's ballpark maybe where it is, it freaks my Ipswich working class roots out. So I just let my business partner handle all that shit so I can just get on and do the job. Because, so anyway, I've found that being famous is the way to being rich. Because like I said, every famous person, you try and hire Dr. Phil and see how much the bill's going to be. Holy shit, man, it's crazy. Try and hire her. Now, I may be on Arnold calls it, ET calls it the homie discount, right? We call it down here mates rates, right? The amount of money that look, Arnold doesn't charge me rack rate when we've worked together. But even his mates rates is still freaking more money than I used to earn in 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? So how can you go broke earning disproportionately higher incomes than anyone else in your industry? You know, sure, it might take a bit of money to get you there, you know, because I don't want I don't want your listeners to rely on the magic dust of $1 million listing coming along and saying, hey, Josh, you're a pretty cool dude, man. Let's put you on $1 million listing Arizona, right? I don't want you to have to wait for that magic bullet for someone else to decree. I decree you, Josh Smith, the famous one. You know what I mean? You can do it without that, you know, lightning in a bottle kind of, you know, like magic kind of thing. You know, we can take what makes Josh Altman famous. You know, he's the author of, there's copies of It's Your Move. He's the author of a book. He's on TV. You know, so how do we get on TV? There are other ways to get, and it's not even get on TV. It's get in the media that the people see. And I tell you, given that this thing has replaced TV as the center of most of our attention, it ain't that hard to get on this bad boy. The fact that you can take $10, drop a pin on Facebook, and now 1,000 or so of your people in your community get to see your face for 1 cent. I don't know, man. It's easier than ever to get your personal brand in front of those consumers. Easier than ever. If it wasn't, some dickhead from Ipswich like me would not be, you know, relatively famous and on an international. Now, that's in Australia. In Australia, in the real estate industry, I'm well known, right? But what the hell am I doing on on the other side of the world podcast? It's crazy.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. And, you know, we brought up Gary Vee, right? And I remember when he first came out with Crush It, right? And this is when I was with Remax. You know, he comes out and he speaks, and this is when he's speaking for free at the time. And, dude, and his speech that he gave was, I don't want to say it's more powerful than what he does today. It just was maybe the first time that, you know, we heard that message that he has out there. But the speech is what you see today that he's getting. Now, he's got the name, the celebrity status, and he's getting paid now $100,000 for that same hour keynote Now, he probably paid to be there because he had to probably book his own flight and, right? But again, the message is the same. The value he's bringing is the same. Only thing that's different is the name Gary
He's
Vee.
famous.
Yeah,
Dude,
right. So,
I mean, there's a whole lot of Gary Vee wannabes out there, dude. There's a lot of them. They're doing word for word Gary Vee content. There's a whole lot of them, right? I didn't pay any of them $100,000, but dude, I'm one of the ones who paid that $100,000 to get him to fly to Australia. And credit to him, he flew 14 hours. Oh no, from New York, 22 hours from New York, including layovers. Who knows how long? Flew all that way. Flew down to us. Spent 8 hours on the ground. Landed, traveled, came to my event for half a day, got back on a plane and flew back for his 100, right? So he's an animal. Take nothing away from him. But dude, I didn't pay any of the wannabe Gary V's $100,000. I paid Gary Vee $100,000, right? Because he's the celebrity one. All the others were saying the same stuff. And some of them might have been able to bring the fire and all that shit. But I don't care about that. I want Gary Vee because he's the famous one.
Yep. Now, with what you're talking about, and just keeping it specific to real estate, which is where the vast majority of our audience is, right now, because you have so many different trends that are taking place. You've got the real estate agent that always wants to be the practitioner, that always wants to be the name, wants to be the face. Always, I've spoke with Josh Altman and hung out with Josh Altman. When you're talking to Josh Altman, right, like he is obsessed with going on listing presentations, the art of the deal. Like he plans on doing that for the rest of his life, right? Then you have, real estate agents like myself that have created a team that step out of production, right? Are branding more of the team image, which has nothing to do with my name. And now it's my agents going on that. So is this strategy that you go out there and you really crack the code or master and that you're now teaching so many? Is it one of those things that really just works really well for that real estate agent that needs to be their name, their face, them showing up? Or can this be pulled off by a team leader or a broker owner that's stepping out of production that wants their logo, their brand to be the celebrity?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And it's possible to do it at a team level or even a company and a corporate level. It's just going to cost more and it's not going to be as effective. But the trade-off is you don't have to be there. You don't have to put up with the shit that if you apply it at a medium-sized team level, like one of the first books I got back there is Millionaire Real Estate Agent, Gary Keller. And he talks about building that super team where you're the puppet master and there are people working for you and stuff. If you pull that off and do this with that, every now and then you need to come up with an objection when people say, oh, I thought I was getting Josh Altman and I'm getting his underling. Because the competitors are going to say, oh, yeah, don't list with Josh Altman. You're never going to see Josh. You're only going to see his team. So you need to have an objection handling formula for that you deliver in advance before the competitors even get to say that's a bad thing. You need to have it positioned in the consumer's mind why it's a good thing, that you've got a specialist in Josh that does certain elements only when necessary, highest and best use of Josh Altman's time. You've got a specialist in running buyers individually when it's during the week or whatever. You've got a specialist in marketing and vendor-seller liaising. You've got a whole team of agents working for you, of which you've got Josh Altman to do the high closing and the high net worth stuff. You've got the if you say to the consumer, have you ever seen Suits? All right, so you've got me as the Harvey Keitel, but certainly I've got a Donna and I've got a Mike Ross to be doing those other tasks that they are better than Harvey at. And so, it's possible to do it at a team level, but it'll never be as effective. Meaning, it's like this. Name drop again. Geez, I'm embarrassing. But there is no better example in the world than Richard Branson and Virgin, right? It's easier for Richard Branson to have done what he's done and bring Virgin along with it than the Google guys. See, the Google guys it's all about the brand, right? I don't even know the names of the Google guys. I barely know there's two of them, but I think there's two of them. Yep. And up until recently, with the movies and things, I didn't really know who Mark Zuckerberg was. Now, the movies have put the Mark Zuckerberg name, in lights. And I'm sure the Facebook tragics knew who Mark Zuckerberg was for 10 years. I didn't. So, it was just easier, in my opinion, for Branson to be able to do it for Virgin than the Google guys who made it all about a nameless, faceless corporate brand. Because the principle is this. I can fall in love, and I don't mean love in some weird, freaky way, but I can fall in love with Josh Smith, right? As in people and people can get an intimacy, a connection, an actual affection, even if they don't know them. I have an affection for Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? And I don't mean that, you know what I'm saying, not in a weird way. I genuinely have a connection at a human level with Richard Branson. He's only met me like twice and maybe doesn't even remember me. Well, no, he must remember me because he invited me in. But you know what I mean? Some of these people, we as their audience member may think of ourselves as having a different relationship than they think, because there's one of Arnold and there's a million of me. You know what I mean? I mean, there's probably thousands of me in his kind of, not even his inner circle, but in his outer inner circle. You know what I mean? Yeah. And yet there's one of him. So that relationship and context of me seeing Arnold as my movie star mate, me seeing Richard Branson as my billionaire mate, me seeing Gary Vee as my hustler social media agency mate who owns his agency over in New York City and, you know, and all of that. That's never going to happen with, oh, I love CVS Pharmacy. That's my pharmacy over there in America. That feeling is never going to happen at a corporate level. Now, there are some people that say, well, what about Apple, dude? I love Apple. Yeah, there are some exceptions to the rule. Apple is one, that people have an affinity with the brand and what Apple represent. But for every one Apple, there are a million app shits that aren't Apple, you know, that have not cracked that code. And the fact that I can only name one company that has brand loyalty like that, maybe Apple, maybe Harley Davidson does as well. But I'm racking my brains to try and think of the companies that have done it. Dude, we could sit here for the whole hour and rattle off personal brands that have done it. So what I would say is the chances of you doing it at a personal brand level are far greater because of that human. Like everyone can have someone like them. You know what I mean? And to the degree that you can do it, whether your audience of people who like you is 50 or 100 or 200 or 200,000 in your entire city is the game. That's where you'll always have different people at different levels of success at doing this. So to answer your question, it can work at a corporate team level, whether it's a medium-sized company like Gary Keller promotes, the EBU, the Effective Business Unit, where it's you with maybe 6 or 7 people working for you, etc. Can be done that way, can even be done at a corporate level, like Gary Keller kind of did with Keller Williams. Yeah. You know, he took a good personal brand of Gary Keller and he thrust that into a brand and a company that now is maybe more attractive than their unbranded, kind of personal branded counterpart in Century 21, for example. You know, so I think it's possible, but I do think that if you're going to do it in your particular case, Josh, where if you're kind of got more that you want to do this at a team level, still celebritize yourself, still cash in on the Josh Smith brand, still cash in on that selfie you must have when Grant Cardone was on your podcast. If you've got that relationship, next time you're in the office with you know, anywhere with Grant Cardone, get that selfie, take that selfie and cash in on the celebrity nature of the Josh Smith brand and lead with that, like Richard Branson does, like Elon Musk does, like you know, Gary Keller does, kind of thing. Because it'll have a nice effect on your business, but it'll never be more effective than when you are that one, nose to nose and toes to toes with that client, and they're feeling starstruck because they've got the Josh Smith in their home with them. Man, that's when this has real power.
Yeah, love it. You know, and so going back again, you know, speaking to our listener that might be, let's just say, individual realtor making $100,000 a year. But it's like, dude, yeah, I want that. I'm sick and tired of being across from the kitchen table and them, you know, telling me that they're only going to pay me 4.5%, you know, right, whatever it may be, and they don't have that celebrity status. So you talked about writing a book, but then you also mentioned there were 5 elements to making a celebrity. So speaking to that real estate agent, because and the reason I'm asking this is when we hear names like Gary Vee or you know, Richard Branson, somebody that's selling 25 homes a year, making $100,000 a year, they're like, I can't relate to, they can't even fathom, how do I make that work for me? And you specialize in coaching and training real estate agents at any level, how to do this quickly and effectively. So just kind of give us some examples of how a real estate agent would start this with those 5 elements and what those 5 elements are.
Beautiful, man. Well, let's go with depth, man. I love you get right down to what do I do? I love that because I'm a very practical guy. And I know, look, here's the thing. I mean, first off, let's look at perspective though. When you mentioned only 4.5%, our agents down here, the good ones are getting 3.5%, and the cost cutters are getting 1%. And stuff like that. So sometimes consider your perspective as well.
Yeah. Well, and not to interrupt you, but so when I say like they're just at 4.5, then that's got to be co-broke with the other.
Yeah, that's got to be 2.
They might only be making 1.5%.
Yeah,
right?
I get it. They're 2. I get it. And my man Josh was saying that you guys want to go for the ones. And I don't know about the legality of this because Josh says you got to make certain disclosures, but the magic are when you double end them. Now, if you can become a listing machine who has a sales mechanism that you can sell properties to buyers direct, now 100% of transactions in Australia are done that way, 98%, right? We don't have a buyer's agent and a seller's agent. We have a listing agent who markets the property, attracts the buyer, sells it to him, and whacks the seller for 2 or 3%, right? So if you guys could double end those things, handle the legal side of that however you will, but Josh calls them double ending, that's when you start getting that 6% on that $1 million property. That's starting to get nice and sexy, you know. So, but let's go through the 5 elements, man. And today, let's give you breadth, and then, man, I'm happy to come back whenever you freaking invite me, bro, and we can go depth on any one of these topics. So let's just real quick. The first one is what I just said to you. It's the power of association, meaning celebrities, one of the things they have in common is and look, we're unprofessional here because I'm just showing you my PowerPoints, but celebrities take photos with other celebrities, right? So if you're in the room with David Blaine and Don Cheadle, you get a photo. If you're in the room with Arnold and his kid, become his 3rd freaking kid. If you're in the room with Branson cutting off your tie, make sure there's a freaking photographer there to capture it. If you're in the offices of VaynerMedia at New York City, now this stuff may be my biggest and best examples, right? But if you meet the quarterback for your local football team in Arizona, you get a selfie with the dude. If you're on a podcast with Grant Cardone and he says, man, next time I got to give you this one. If you're you've got a podcast episode with Grant Cardone, right? Grant Cardone is a beast in my head. I love him, right? If Grant Cardone at the end of that, now I don't know your relationship with Grant. All I know is you did a thing. If Grant Cardone at the end of that said, hey, man, if ever you're in Florida, look me up. And you politely said, yeah, man, I'll do that. And you didn't, here's what I did. The great Bob Wolf. Now, I don't know if Bob Wolf is a legend in America, but he's an American agent working in Laguna, south of LA. And in Australia, he's a legend, right? He is a freaking legend because he's awesome. So Bob Wolf, when he was in Australia, said, and Glenn, if ever you're in, and I can't do an American accent, so my apologies. Hey, Glenn, if ever you're in Southern California, make sure you look me up and we'll hang out and we'll do all of that shit, right? And he's an hour south of LA. He must say that to everyone he meets down in Australia. And no one must ever take him up on it because he's still saying it. Believe me, if he had a stream of Aussies going and annoying him all the time, he would never say it. So the minute I said, yeah, thanks, Bob, I'd love to, and blah, blah, blah. And we, it was great. The minute I got out of that face-to-face, catch up with him down in Australia, it was only a few minutes, get a photo, express my admiration. He had to go, right? He said that. I got on the phone to my team and I said, find me an excuse to be in LA. I don't care what the seminar is. I don't care what it is. Find me a seminar to go to in LA 2 to 4 months from now, anytime around that, and let me know when you've found it, And 3 months later, I was in the offices of Bob Wolf, hanging out for half a day. I recorded an interview. I got to see him work. I got to hang out, and we became buds, right? Because I knew this principle, the power of association. And yet he would have offered that power of association to probably hundreds of Australians. And I was the one to take him up on that. So the first principle is when you've got the opportunity to be associated with a celebrity, and it doesn't have to be real estate. It could be that's Alice Cooper and there's Keith Urban and it could be whatever. The reason that Glenn Twiddle is headlining there with Eric Thomas, or headlining there with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I do not deserve to be co-headlining with Arnold Schwarzenegger, me, Josh Altman, and then this here is a who's who of Australian successful real estate agents. It's the best of the best. By merit, Glenn Twiddle does not deserve to be there, but I put myself there. I don't deserve to be there. Holy shit, I don't. I'm looking at all this stuff in the way, but that's the flyer for this event, this big event we did called Titans of Real Estate. Anyway, geez, you can see how much I prepared for this, right? Yeah. So Glenn Twiddle, by merit, does not deserve to be there. But I am there because I paid the bill to put myself there, because that gives me cred, right? So really the takeaway from all that on principle one is, dude, if you're going to meet someone famous or semi-famous or half famous, I'm just thinking, is there anyone who you guys might not know? No, I probably deleted that. Well, you guys might not know who Larry Winget is, right? Larry, to me, is a great author. I've got a bunch of his books back there. If you ever meet Larry at an event, get a pic with him, because he's an animal, man. If you ever get the chance to meet Tim Ferriss, you get a photo and do something funny with Tim. So that's principle number one. Famous people, what they have in common is they hang out with other famous people. So if you get the opportunities, don't let those opportunities go by. That's principle number one. We talked about principle number two, write a book, right? Man, you're expert in a bunch of your areas. I know your knowledge in both health and fitness, in marketing, and in real estate. Man, you need to be, if you're not already, you need to have 3 books under your belt, right? You need to, right? Have you already? And again, forgive me for not knowing.
Yeah, well, not me personally. We actually.
Your business partners. Yeah, your business partners just released one.
Yeah, I write the copy, but the business is, we've got our 3rd book that'll be released January 15th. So
yeah. So here's the thing, man. Authors just get cred. You know what I mean? Like, your business partners would already be seeing that. And be careful, because I know that you've got business partners. I'm not saying be careful. They're your homies. I get it. They're your boys. But dude, if they keep on that trajectory, Josh Smith needs to make sure his personal brand is beast, man. So write a book. It doesn't cost, man, I'll publish it for you. Because believe me, no one was going to publish 100 of my clients' books. No Simon & Schuster or Penguin were going to come along and publish my peeps' books, right? I had to become a publisher. I had to learn how to get ISBNs to get books on Amazon and all that stuff. So, so all of these books, there is not one of them that is officially published. When I say officially, I'm the publisher, right? So all of these real estate agents, your real estate agent, Pressfield's Guide to Selling Your Home for More. Some of the guys go a bit more funny, and Jared's a bit of a clown, and he wanted to dress up as James Bond with License to Sell, and Lucas wanted to be more professional and stuff. These guys wanted a more family, but no publisher was going to come along and publish our sorry asses. That again would be waiting for the universe to come along and do it. Here's my mate Greg. He's I don't know if you know Brian's mates from RE Uncensored, but Greg didn't have a book. Well, he does now. Because as soon as I met him, I said, dude, how can you not? So I would just say for Josh personally, dude, make sure you get book. Even if you never say, dude, not now, this is my book because this is the first copy. There's 10,000 copies of this coming. I suggest I will sell 20 of them. I will be giving them away like an animal. Why? Because a physical book, not an ebook, not a downloadable drop-down menu on a website of handy hints for sellers or whatever, right? So these books, The Advanced Guide to Selling Your Home. I've had people pick up a book at an event, thumb through it and go, oh man, I've got all that shit on my drop-down website, drop-down menu on my website, all of that actually pretty ordinary information. And I think, he obviously doesn't get it, of course, so I wasn't condescending. But in my head, I was sitting there going, dude, how often have people asked you for an autographed copy of your freaking drop-down menu, man? How often have people kind of asked you for a copy and said, wow, that's pretty cool? When one of my mates put his book cover up on his social media, he had 200 comments of people saying, congratulations, that's freaking awesome, and all of that. He had mates of his from school saying, you wanker. I don't know if that term relates, but it means dickhead, you dickhead. You can't even read, let alone write a book, all right? So they're mocking him. But underneath that mocking, there's respect that he did something. You know what I mean? So never in a million years would his mates have said, you dickhead, you can't even read, let alone write your frickin' drop-down menu on your website. No one's ever read those frickin' things. You know what I mean? So it's got to be physical. It's got to be paper and ink because they don't have e-book shelves, you know?
Well, yeah, and I love that you shared some of those examples. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but by just seeing some of those titles, you know, because again, a real estate agent might be, well, shit, I'm working with buyers and sellers. What do we write a book on? And, you know, in my mind, when I've seen some of those titles is like, I've got a staging guide that we give our sellers, which is how to prep your home for sale guide to net thousands of dollars more. And it just
there's a book
room by room and then bam. So when agents are thinking about this, you know, write a buyer book about, you know, the top 10 mistakes to avoid or whatever it may be. That's tactical. I mean, is that right? It doesn't have to be something insane revolutionary.
No.
Write down when you're in a buyer consultation, you're educating your clients on what to do through the process, turn that into a damn book, and then boom, you got the book, right? I mean,
Josh Smith, guys, you don't need me. You got freaking where's Josh there? You
well,
got him.
the reason I bring that up is because you know, so many people plant these limiting beliefs of, okay, well, I get what you're saying, Glenn, but I can't think of a book to write, right? But you're writing what you're already speaking to your clients and educating your clients on all day. It doesn't have to be something insane revolutionary. And I mean, am I right with that thought process? Because again, I don't want our audience right now to again have this limiting belief of, well, shit, I'm not, you know, some specialist in this insane area. I don't know what to write a book on.
I'm just trying to find, I've got books here that are official books, that are real written books. So let me find one. Let me just find one. I'm sure I've freaking got one. Where is one? Oh man, where are my real estate ones? There you go. All right. So this book here is a real book. And there are millions of them up there, right? This book here is a real book. These are actual published books. And there's a million books on building wealth through property. So if you read those books cover to cover, and here's the other thing, I don't want to make it too hard for your guys. What you just said is right. If you've got enough to do a listing presentation, you've got enough you know what, here, man, let's make it real simple. Take your drop-down menu that is already on your website with your handy hints for sellers in prepping a home, copy it, paste it, change the words enough that you're not guilty of plagiarism or whoever wrote it, or get the permission from your head office to publish it and freaking get that thing out there. You know, the magic of this, of the book, of this, isn't in what's in chapter 12, because according to the statistics, less than 1% of the people are going to get to chapter 12. The magic isn't even in really what's in chapter 6. My chapter 1 is me saying, right, you're not going to get to the end of this book, so I'm going to put all of the good take-home principles straight in chapter 1 in the hopes you get some of them. Sure, I'll reward the people who stay to the end with some more good stuff, some more depth, but I know it ain't what's in the book. It's that and it's that, right? They're the two things. When you give this bad boy away, 100% of the people you give it to are going to see the cover. So we give 100% impact on the cover, right? 40% are going to turn it over and go, oh yeah, it's interesting, and read the back cover. So I give 40% kind of impact on the back cover. And the rest is just, I really don't care what you write in the middle, man. So long as it's not gibberish and you make some sense that it can't be embarrassing. Yeah. That if someone reads it and they go, shit, man, I ain't hiring you if that's what you're all about. So long as it's just good enough, it's good enough. You know, and I don't want to minimize it and say don't bother writing good work. Do as good a work as you have to do to get the thing executed. Dude, your podcast says it all. I'm known for a saying down here as don't let perfect get in the way of done. And your podcast is called Get Shit Done, right? So get a bias for done. Write your first book about whatever the frickin' hell you want. Do it quick, get it done. And then write your magnum opus that's going to be your life story that you're actually proud of, right? Get published first with just something on how to sell your home for top dollar, or how to buy well, how to build 0 to 130 properties in whatever you can do it in. Now, don't exaggerate and lie and say something you can't do. Put your knowledge into a book. And here's what one of my guys who was $1 million performer who didn't have time to do it. Dude, I paid I mean, you said you wrote some of the copy for your guy's book. I paid a writer to write one of my guys' books, right? So if you don't have time to write it because you're so busy and you're already on 200K, freaking pay Josh to write the bastard for you. He'll whip it up, charge you a few grand, happy days. I'm speaking out of turn, mate. You might say, a few grand, dude. I ain't getting out of bed for a few grand.
Nah, I love it. Yep.
Don't let the perfection of what you want your book to be done. Don't romanticize that thing so that you procrastinate yourself into non-execution. You know?
Yep. Love it. All right. So then that brings us to number 3.
All right. Number 3 is actually number 2 because number 2 is number 3. And let's just have a quick look at this. This is what every realtor in the world has got. This photo. Globally, you know what that man does for a living without even knowing what he does for a living, right? We've all got that shit. And we can't have that, right? Because when I met Tom Carlin, now this guy's in his late 20s when I met him, this photo was everywhere, all over his marketplace, everywhere. And I sent him this photo shoot from one of my other guys, and I just chose some photo shoots at random. But this is John. And see how these photos show me a little bit more of the personality of John. What we want to have is a photo shoot that's better than a typical real estate headshot, right? And because here's the thing, compare John's photos to Tom's. Now, Tom isn't a rah-rah guy, right? That's not Tom's style. But his photo shoot came back and this was his new photo shoot. He wanted to show professionalism and friendly and family and all of that. Now, here's the thing. When I first showed this as a PowerPoint and this photo came up, some chick in the 3rd row at my seminar said, "Fuck, he's got a woman," end quote, right? Now, and what I would say to you as a marketing kind of analyst, would that statement ever have come if I'd have shown that photo of Tom?
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Never in a million years. So we want to have a photo shoot. Like, this is my partner, Naomi. Now, if anyone doubts my ability to influence, to persuade, to convince, I give you Exhibit A. Right? This is my partner, Naomi. That's hence the punching above your weight thing. Now, Naomi was a real estate agent before she came to work for me. So you can see that her photo shoot shows her personality, right? The magic of Naomi's photo shoot isn't in pink boxing gloves because she is a boxer and a fighter and in shape and all that. We want to show your personality in your marketing. And that starts with a photo shoot. So if all you've got at the moment is a headshot that looks something like that, go find a photographer. Don't spend too much money, maybe a couple of $100, and get a photo shoot that rocks. So this is Jody. This is the single mom who was 2 parts above broke when she met me. Have a look at how awesome she looks. And then from those photos that we get done, we make all of the various books and billboards. And this was one of her billboards that she has with 60,000 cars, her flyers and sold marketing pieces, etc. So that's the third thing is get a decent photo shoot that shows your humanity. You know what I mean? Celebrities don't have one photo that if you put most real estate agents into Google in images, you see the same photo about 1 billion times. You put any celebrity into Google in images and you see all different, some professional, some not professional, some casual, you see an array because that's what I'm trying to do, man. I'm trying to reverse engineer what fame is to the general public and make that part of our world. So no more single headshot professionalism looking like this, like all those real estate agents have got. So that's kind of number 2, 3, whatever we're up to. The next one was, I suppose, man, any commentary on that? I mean, is this, because I gloss through this because it's second nature, but sometimes we undervalue because I've been raving about this for years. I don't want to undervalue it, man. Is that revolutionary or ho-hum to an American audience?
Well, it's one of these things where, we've all heard the saying that small hinges swing big doors.
Big doors, brother.
So you sit there and think, oh, well, a photo that, most people might brush it off as not being something of importance, but the power a photo absolutely has, right, is so massive. And I think, what's cool about this being video is if you just said that, or somebody's listening on iTunes and isn't seeing these screenshot differences, they may not be able to grasp and understand. But just the examples you showed, of the one gentleman, man, you can see the absolute power in that, right? Because the photo, I mean, that's going to come to all their branding, whether they're doing, the direct mail, they're doing their Facebook ads, they're doing their website, they're doing the billboard. I mean, it's, becomes that centerpiece.
Absolutely. And the pub, that's why, that's why I suppose when you do this and you saturate your market, the whole point here is really once you've got these weapons, and these weapons might be, historically we used to make DVDs. And as you can see with this DVD, now I know the day of the DVD is ending. unfortunately, because we could replicate them so cheaply, and the alternative of the DVD is quite expensive, having to get a smart TV app, having to get one of those video cards that you open up or whatever. All of the alternatives to DVD are expensive. But look at when we had a DVD and you had one of your attention-getting photos on the front. Attention-getting photos on the menu on the television when it comes up, And that's if that's your style. Of course, Sam here, she's got a different style. She's got a friendly demeanor, and that's her husband, Phil, and all of that. But once we've got all of these marketing weapons and we saturate them in your area, that there's DVDs in bookshelves all around your area, there's social media banners with all of that good marketing positioning going on, and there's all that saturation, what it ends up in is instead of them walking by you at Walmart and you just being another nameless, faceless person, you walk by them and they go, and you start seeing those looks. And then they still walk by because they didn't get a chance for the penny to drop. And eventually they see you and they go, wow. And they feel like they know you. They were never going to feel like they know you if that nameless, faceless headshot that you plaster everywhere, that they become blind to. In fact, they don't even become blind to it. They never saw it in the first place. They just never saw it. We need to get it to be seen so that when they see you, they go, shit, I know that dude. That's that real estate dude, Josh. Hey, man, how's the market? Mate. Yeah. Or even they might go, man, if you put one more flyer in my letter. Actually, I think that's littering there, over there. Over here, we can just put flyers in letterboxes.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. Okay, so if you put one more door hanger on my door, I think I'm going to kill you. That's better than them walking by you and not knowing who you are.
Yeah. Love it.
Because they know your name, So, so that fourth point is get interviewed, because what goes on the DVD, it's an interview, right? It's an interview saying, so Josh, how is it that you're just such a legend and you sell all these houses for top dollar and everyone else is such a moron and can't do shit? How is that possible? Now, of course, the question is better worded than that, but that's exactly what the interview, is about. It's about positioning you, because an interviewer can position you like you've positioned me. If I got on to your podcast and it was solo, right? They don't know who I am. I don't have an interviewer. And I get on there and I say, right, I get rid of that. There's no Josh here today. This is Glenn Twiddle. I am an animal. I'm a marketing beast. My best mate's Arnold Schwarzenegger and Richard Branson. I'm a freaking marketing guy. No matter how I word that, I'm going to look like a douche.
Yeah.
Rightly so, right? But by you introducing me and telling a few of the credentials and some of the good shit I've gotten up to, I can still get the point across that I know a thing or two about marketing and positioning and making someone famous. But now your audience doesn't hate me,
Yeah. Well, what about the day and the age that we're in? Like you said earlier, it's so much easier and cheaper, outside of you said with the DVD, unless there's alternatives with, just getting it on YouTube or building out some lead page you can give them as a video. But, when you say get interviewed, I'm thinking, well, dude, it doesn't have to be you can go on Amazon, buy the kits, buy the lights, make it look for under $200, make your office look like a professional studio. Right? Have it interviewed, have one of your employees interviewed, whatever, and make it look like you're on, ABC or whatever the channel. Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't emulate a known channel where you're trying to deceive, but you're right in everything else, in my opinion. No, of course you could. Of course you could. It's just not my recommendation to try and deceive that you were on ABC when you weren't.
Right. Well, I don't mean that. I don't mean like name dropping, but I could be like, they don't, hey, Joshua Smith with, whatever, and just say that. I mean, you can make it appear every bit as professional without making up a name,
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Like, on that principle, I got on $1 Million Listing, right? So I could have put that onto any footage of me, put the hashtag and got, but I did whatever it took to get on $1 Million Listing, for that reason, because I want to be in the media, I want to get on the, have I got any? Yeah. So, you get on them. So don't fake that this is. Find out what sort of experts they want on Sky Business News to show your property empire, and create that content, and then just keep asking to be on the show. And one of two things will happen. Eventually, they will say, piss off, Josh, go away. And that's unlikely to happen because they want experts. They will eventually maybe put you on, or here's what they'll also do. If you just keep asking and saying, hey, I've got some commentary on how to buy property with Bitcoin, right? And you just keep pitching. Eventually, they're going to get so impressed by your tenacity, but sick of you annoying them, they're going to say, Josh, get the freaking hell out of here. If you can't bring me a story on buying property with Bitcoin or something like that, just stop annoying me with this staging shit. Now, I'm just hypothesizing. They'll give you the keys to get on the show if you ask unsuccessfully enough. Yeah. So, and whether that's TV, radio, newspaper, magazines, but the cheapest and easiest way nowadays is positioning yourself on social, just going through, just finding some social shit, how this stuff works with social media, getting yourself positioned and branded with your social media collateral, getting yourself so that every time they look on their phone, they see nothing but you. And that's the beauty of social right now, is it's so cheap to geographically farm an area of 2,000 homes. You can become a household name within a year to 2,000 homes with Facebook alone. Yep. Household name, legend status. Just pick an audience, bring it nice and tight, audience of 20-odd thousand people in a 2 or 3 mile radius. And dude, it's going to cost you nothing. And you saturate those people to the point where they know you. Like, look at how BC's doing it. And he's doing it globally, man. That dude is... Imagine if BC took that focus and only did it in his area. Yep. He'd be like the mayor. He would be like the freaking mayor. You know? So that's kind of the thing, man. Your guys can do it, man. They can do it. Yeah, is it going to take a bit more study than an hour with you and me here? Probably. But can they take the first steps? Yeah, go get some decent shots. Start watching other people who've done it, like you. Bud, you've done it, man. One of those elements is starting a podcast. Now, I wouldn't say for your viewers as real estate agents, the first place they should go is podcasting, because as we talked about off camera, man, there's some commitment to that. So I wouldn't start with podcasting, but it's watching Brian Casella, watching Josh Altman, figuring out those elements and which elements of those guys' personality and marketing positions can be modeled, and certainly some of the things we've talked about here, And here's the other thing. Don't spend too much money until your coach says to. Like, find someone, even if it's a free colleague mentor who you've seen build a good personal brand. Don't go spending 10 grand on anything until you've run it by someone who knows what they're doing. And most of us as coaches, we'll quit. If you say, hey, Glenn, I'm going to do shopper dockets. I don't know if you have those over there, but they have a voucher on the back of a CVS docket or something or whatever. Hey, man, I'm going to get 10 grand and get the CVS docket so I can get penetration and saturation in my marketplace. Man, I'll just quickly say, don't do that, do something else. Most of us coaches will give quick advice, maybe not an hour-long coaching session, but quick advice on whether something's a good idea. So don't go making major capital investments. Dip your toe in this thing. Get some guidance. You've got some great resources on podcasts like this, especially this one. Josh has got a who's who of successful agents in the area in his back catalog, of which I crammed a few episodes in to get a feel for this. Man, that's a treasure trove. If you've only listened to a couple episodes of this, you're selling yourself short. Go through the back catalog and kind of virtually ask the experts what you do. And get a bias for, heaven forbid, to coin the phrase, getting shit done, to coin the phrase of this podcast. Get a bias for implementing something. If not perfect, so long as it's done,
Yeah, love it. So step number 5 is to start a podcast, correct?
No, step number 5 is get in the media.
Okay.
Radio, TV, newspaper, magazines, and now social media as well. So celebrities have a specific way of composing themselves on social media, and it never used to be. It used to be they had a specific way of composing themselves and getting into radio, TV, newspaper, magazines. Now we need to add social media into that mix because celebrities have a certain way of composing themselves on there as well.
Yeah, man, I think it's important to know. I mean, like you talked about with some of your clients. I mean, this stuff, it's not like boom, all 5 steps are done in a week.
Nope.
You know, right? It's you got one, you get it dialed in, you go to the next one. It takes some time. It's not, you know, there's no really get rich quick scheme that exists out there. And now I'm a huge believer. And those that watch the show consistently, know that I'm massive into self-development, coaching with the right people. I spend over 100, this year, 2017, just over 120 grand on my own personal coaches, my own personal self-development. I'm a massive believer in doing it. It's like, I don't want to be the experiment. I want to go out there and find somebody that's mastered it, that's done it, that's done it with others, right? So that I'm able to go in there and just shorten that learning curve and ensure my success. And I know that this is what you do, right? So for those that are watching and listening to this, if they're like, dude, I want to be that. I want to be that Josh Altman. Maybe I can't do it by being on $1 Million Listing, but I don't need $1 Million Listing. I can go out there and, create my own. Like you talked about Grant Cardone, right? So he couldn't get on TV, right? He pitched it and just went. He's like, fuck it, dude. I'm just going to start my own, whatever it takes, network, fuck the TV networks. And he created his own TV network, right? And obviously he's killing it. So with that being said, man, if people want to get in touch with you and talk to you further and talk about your coaching program, I think based on these 5 steps, we kind of have an idea, unless there's more that your coaching program consists of. I mean, talk to us about what it is that your coaching offers, who is it for, and also where the best place is to learn more about it and get in touch with you.
Yeah, well, what I love is most people will give away a whole bunch of good stuff for free if they know anything about what they're talking about. Like I've got a bunch of free stuff, but you asked before kind of what it looks like and how long. Well, that's about 2 years ago, I put this matrix together and I've probably added 2 arms to the matrix. And there's checklists and all this craziness. So it is about the slow but steady installation of that matrix, which involves broadly many of the things we've talked about. But then some of the stuff we didn't talk about, mastery of your CRM, and the follow-up trails, that once you meet someone, having a step-by-step sequential follow-up trail to wear them down and get them to fall in love with you without having to sit there on the phone and follow them up every 3 weeks. Hey, I know you weren't selling 3 weeks ago, but Josh, has anything changed? How about now? Kind of thing. So there's all of those elements. And it did, when I first had my first guinea pigs with this, it did take 5 years to get, we got 2 or 3 of those arms of the octopus tested and honed and the bugs ironed out and all of that every year, But now, because he was one of the early adopters of this out-of-the-box thinking, he did 1.8 million working 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. in this last financial year. So he's a beast, right? 1.8 mil, working part-time, animal. So he gets that early mover advantage. What anyone starting to implement this stuff now has the advantage of is it doesn't take 5 years because we've ironed out the bugs and you can just kind of do it. So step 1 is you don't need to pay any coaching or buy anything. Go to a photographer, take $200 and get a new headshot, get a new series of photos. And if you want to reach out to me, and I'm easy to find, just PM me on Facebook. I'll give you some examples to show your photographer. I suppose now that I've said this, I better put them up on a website or something so I don't have to freaking keep cutting and pasting the message. But I'll find something where I give them some examples they can give to their photographer. That's step 1. Get the raw materials with which to get stuff started. The first step in this journey is doing step 1. And then when you've gotten all your photos, you'll be sitting there itching, right, now what do I do with them? Then reach out and start to observe my clients maybe. Don't even spend a dime. I know that most people get on anything. And, man, you served it up for me, man. Hey, tell us more about your coaching. I say, yeah, here's the coaching. Here, go buy my shit. Of course, man, one day maybe. But for now, go and do something with the information you've got. Go and do the first step. If we were on a $2,000 coaching paid call, I would say, righto, go out, find a photographer who's not going to charge you $1,000 because you don't want all, like a normal photographer, $1,000, click, and they'll polish up 4 or 5 photos for you and take you 1,000. We don't want that. We want someone with a good quality camera, snap, following the formula that I'll give you if you PM me on Facebook. And Facebook's the only place it's me. My emails, Twitter, none of that's me. That's all my staff. But Facebook is me. So I will PM you back with the link, with the examples. So go and model whichever one of my students you like. Go and get those photos. Say to that photographer, I don't want any touch up. I don't need you to do any work. All I need you to do is point your camera at me. We'll do some of these poses. Click. Hand me a card. Hand them a card. Click. Get your card back. That's it. Hand them $100 or $200 for that service and go. We need about 100 photos because out of those 100, there'll be 40 good ones and I'll get about 10 to 20 that will be your top 10 that you'll use in all your marketing. They're the ones we have overseas touched up for 2 cents in the dollar. Instead of being $200 an hour American artistic photographer touch-up time, we get it done cheap overseas and we get it done for pennies in the dollar. So that would be first step number one. And that would be where I'd start. Then start to watch some of my students, how they're rolling, and see if you can implement 1 or 2 things, you know? And sure, if someone, it ain't hard to find my stuff. Realestatetraining.me is a free gift. Real estate free gift is another one, .com. Real estate free gift, realestatetraining.me. There's a bunch of free stuff out there that you can get started with. And, most coaches, if they know what they're doing, they'll give away a whole bunch of valuable shit to get you started. Because my ethos is, if that dude's coaching me basically for free, what the hell's he charging $5,000 a month for his high-end stuff? And I'll give you guys the oil. I ain't coaching him in anything different than I've talked about to you guys right here for nothing. The only difference is I go to their office and I do it for them. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's it. I just go to their office and I do it for them. I say, all right, stand over there, and I get my photographer to come with me and we take the photos. Then I say, now you go back to work, and I send it to the overseas. And the only difference between what I just went through broadly with you and what people pay me $60,000 plus 2.5% overrider on their profit, which sometimes equates to over $100,000 a year for, the only difference is kind of the method of delivery. Like, I'll fly to your office and I'll tell you the same stuff, Josh. Shit, man, get it for free and save the $100,000. And execution. Execution is, Gary Vee said it, ideas are shit, execution is the game. Your podcast is living testament. Get shit done. Those who can get shit done are the players. You know what I mean? I ain't the best at all this stuff. I just did some things with what I learned, so it's cool. I didn't invent any of this stuff, man. None of this stuff did I invent. Like you, I've got a 6-figure annual coaches bill. 6-figure. I just got back from Vegas a week ago, spending 2 days with Frank Kern, 10 people, of which me, Frank Kern, and 10 of us in a room, thousands of dollars flying across the world, just because I ain't going to let this fall behind, man. I'm going to stay ahead of the game, always. So, unfortunately, I didn't invent any of this. Wish I could come up and take credit. Can't. All my coaches did. That gave me all this, So, yeah, I love it, man. We're kindred spirits, my man. Kindred spirits.
Love it, brother. So then on Facebook, it's just your name, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Any marketer who needs to do anything more than say their name ain't marketing shit.
Yeah, love it. So, I know we're going long on time here, and you've already dropped so much amazing information, dude. But just want to end with this. This podcast was created to go and give people the right information. Like when I started this podcast, especially in real estate, right? We're in an industry with more available information than any other industry out there, with the least performing people. And a lot of it is there's so much shit information. There's so many people that have never done it that charlatans, whatever you want to call it, they're in the space. I'm like, we're just going to create a space with the doers, people that are actually doing it, whether it's realtors, trainers, coaches, but people that have actually proven it, that are doing it at a high level and deliver that right information. So those that are here listening are here because they want that information, that inspiration to create the life they know they want and deserve. Any last piece of advice or inspiration they'd like to leave them with so they can do exactly that?
That's a good, see, I didn't even think of that. That's good. All right. So we've weeded out all the people who said, Josh is wrapping up. I'll push stop now. So we're only left with the stayers. Let me give them the best bit of information I could. And not because I was holding back. It only just popped into my head that, I didn't give the best bit of info. This is the number one tip. The number one, if I was only allowed to coach one thing, this would be it. The principle is this: your future clients see the world vicariously through the experiences of your past clients. Like, not one of my clients have ever signed up with me because of what I said. They all signed up with me because they saw Chris Gilmore's journey. They saw Jody Curran's journey. They saw all of the success stories of those that went before them in my programs. They want that for themselves. So they give me, in many cases, whatever money I ask for in order for me to do that for them. And reliably and predictably, I've got thousands of test case studies of people that I could hand them 1,000 real estate agents' phone numbers, say pick one at random and call them and ask them about how my programs helped them, and they could choose one at random, and I would be confident that there would be money coming back the minute they got back on the phone with me. Right? So it works in my business, and it absolutely works in theirs. That your future listing that you're going to list tomorrow will list with you far more based not on what you say to them that you're going to do, but based on what little Mrs. Jones, with a tear in her eye, when she says to a camera, and you know where I'm leading with this, it's video testimonials, when she says to a camera, or, if she's not comfortable looking right at the lens, that she looks a bit off lens at maybe you over there and in interview format, and she says, I was so confused by all of this information and I didn't know what to do and who to turn to, and, there just seemed to be real estate everywhere and I had no idea what to do. So I was very uncertain. I ended up meeting Josh Smith, and I tell you, whilst I didn't quite, I saw some old footage of him and he was very professional, and then I meet him and he's a little bit rough around the edges, but there was something about him that was real. And I trusted him even though he had some out-of-the-box ideas. He was talking to me about Facebook and social Snapchats and all these weird things that I did not know what were. I thought you put a listing to a realtor and they bring you buyers. I didn't know the process, but I trusted Josh. And I tell you, what ended up happening is not only did Josh get the money we wanted, he got $20,000 more than we even expected we were going to get. And with that $20,000, I bought my husband the Les Paul guitar that he has wanted since he was a teenager. And here it is. And I even had 10, 15 grand left over and bought him a classic Ford Mustang that he has literally dreamed about. And that's the Mustang over there. And it's all because of Josh Smith. I tell you, and that's it. And if she can tear up talking about what she did for her husband because of you, game over. Game over. You win. So if you can get a series of testimonials, and dude, I literally have so many, it's sick. It's sick. One day, it's one of my goals, and I'll get to it one day. I'm going to line them all up, because if I lined them all up, it'd probably be about 10 hours. And I'm going to put a 10-hour video, 30 seconds at a time, up on YouTube. That's just all of them. So if ever I get a hater, I just send them to that link and say, I wonder who's wrong, dickhead, you or them. But yeah, that's the number one tip, man. Capture video testimonials. It's easier than ever before with one of them. And let me give you the specific resources to do it. One of them and one of them, right? You clip that on them and the sound will be perfectly adequate. You get a decent smartphone, there's a Google Pixel 1, pretty cheap now that there's a Google Pixel 2 that exists. This is perfect. Any iPhone post 6 or 7 is perfect. Any Samsung post 7 is perfect. Any of your new smartphones will do it. That sound is important in video testimonials. So you do have to have a kind of a mic. The one I like is this one, right? iRig iLav. So grab that. Why? Because see how it's got that? You can daisy chain two together, and you can clip one on you and one on if you're going to be in the video and kind of interview them. And that's another time. But for now, get a decent mic, get a decent cam, and start to capture the experiences of your past sellers when they're at the height of their gratitude to you, when they're saying thanks for the deal, at settlement, at transfer, when they've moved into their new dream house, whatever. When they're at the height of that emotion, capture that bad boy. There's the number one tip.
Yeah, love it. Powerful stuff. And I can't remember the exact statistic, but it was something like 80% of human beings today will take those testimonials, that testimonial social proof, every bit. It holds the same weight as a friend or family referral, right? So the power of them is just getting so much more powerful, man. It's so awesome advice. Those that are watching, listening, I know I end every podcast with this, but information without implementation truly is the start of the illusion. Information isn't power. It's taking that information, taking massive action on it that creates the power inside your life. So you can go out there and create that life you want, deserve. And there's so many amazing pieces of advice with you guys today. Take something that you learn, go out there and take immediate action on it. So again, you can go out there and create that life you want, deserve. And Glenn, man, I truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to be here. It's been a lot of fun. It's been an honor, my man.
Oh, dude, the honor has mine, man. When I reached out to BC, I had my fingers crossed that Josh Smith would accept me, bro. So I really did. Thank you, man.
Yeah, been an honor. All right, thanks again, you guys, and we will see you next time.
Wow. Well, there you go. I hope you liked the episode. If you liked that, then what you need to do is you need to subscribe. You need to get more of this craziness because we got more coming. I'm never standing still, and we've got so many more guests. We've got so many more strategies, more out-of-the-box thinking. So if you haven't subscribed, literally, you're like throwing away thousands of dollars. Because I tell you, if you haven't subscribed, you don't come back. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to find you, I'm going to market to you, and I'm going to charge you for the very stuff that on this podcast we give away for free. So whack that subscribe button on whatever your favorite podcast weapon of destruction is, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.